Hello. I clicked it twice. I don't know if that means it's going to stop. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Yeah, my intro is once again talking about pressing the record button. Pressing record button. Here we are. This is episode 24, and I'm in something that looks like a broom closet. So here's the thing about this location. If you're watching, this is the exact same wood panel. Hear that? That's hard. That's hardwood. I don't know if it's, there's knots in it, right? Those aren't decorative knots. That's hard panel, wood panel. And I've done it here before. This is my parents' basement. Man, this is coming off even more and more like I'm at my parents' house a lot. Getting a drink of water early. That's an early water break. Cough. So, I used to say cough button a couple times. So anyways, I used to, like, when I did the podcast, I would try to move the chair so it didn't look like it was in a broom closet, because it's not a broom closet. This is it's a basement, it's finished, but it's got stuff in it. And the place that there's an outlet, which this runs all of my power for the podcast right here. I know, I'm giving away all the secrets. What you really need to do for a podcast is you need an outlet and a charger for your laptop, and then run everything through your laptop. These are the secrets to the business. I don't know how far away. That's the chair. I'm sitting up straight, and it's too high. Let me move this up a little bit. But yeah, and then I was like, I set it up here, and there's literally a broom right here, and then there's a bookcase, which we can get into those books later. But I was like, it kind of looks like a broom closet, and I was like, that's fine. I think maybe we'll see how that one turns out. See how the broom closet episode turns out. I'm in my parents' basement. It is. I never lived here, despite many people thinking I lived in my parents' house for sure. When I was a child, I lived in their house, and then they moved from Buffalo, New York. Well, I was born in Cleveland. Anyway, you don't need to know all the information that I have to get TSA every time I forget my ID. Did you live in this state? Did you know that? You should know that. I already talked about it before on one of my platforms. On my platforms. I have talked about how you don't need your ID to fly, and to rave critique in the shorts world on YouTube. But you don't need your ID to fly right now. They're like, you need to get real ID by May 2025. So that might be different. But right now, if you don't have your ID, you can go through security, and they ask you questions about yourself. And so if you're trying to be me, you'd be like, well, did you live in the city? Yes, I did. And that's what you can say. One person online commented that, I'm not going to get into that. This isn't go into the comments section. I know that when people comment on social media, sometimes they're in a good place. Sometimes they're in a place where they're feeling love, and then you feel love from it, and some people are consistently like that. And shout out to all those sleepers out there. I just got my kid to sleep podcast listeners. That's a shorter way to say that, is just sleepers. That's what we're going with. I've decided, and one person was down with it. I think maybe two. We don't need to get in the numbers. What are you, my investors? Do you think I need to upgrade this system right here? This cord isn't frayed at all. There is zero fire hazard going on right here. We'll be good. Maybe we could use some promotion. I realized recently on stage that I was filming a thing, and just for my own social media use, and my mouth got a little dry, and my S's sound a little slurry, and that's just a thing that I realized. Like, isn't it funny? 20 years in, and I'm like, I don't always know how to talk. Is that how other jobs work? Are there accountants out there that show up to work one day and they're like, which button is the add button on the calculator? Because I'm sure that's what accountants do. I have no idea what other jobs are like. I know the jobs that I've done. Let's go through those real quick. Just we haven't touched on it, but if we have, let's go through them. Okay. First job, child. That's a job. I don't care what you say. Maybe it depends on your parents. My dad, when he would call when he was at work and it was the summertime or whatever. He'd be like, "Are you playing?" And I was like, "Yeah, we're playing outside. We're playing inside. We're playing a lot." And he's like, "That's your job." So that's a job being a kid, child. And then that was kind of it. I guess school, you do that instead of a job. My first job where I got paid was, I guess maybe someone paid me. My parents never paid me for much. Like, I know some kids got an allowance. Did you get an allowance? We didn't get really allowances. I got money if they approved of what I was doing. But it was never like, there was never a lesson of like, here is this money you get for this week. And if you spend it on this thing, then you don't get to do that thing. Because I think, I don't know. I don't know why, but it does seem like they were kind of like, well, we get to decide what you do. We're going to use money. I remember in like middle school, 8th grade, it came up in the class. Somehow allowances came up in Mr. Mattern's social studies 8th grade class. Shout out. We were his first year of classes. He was a debut teacher. Did you ever have a young teacher? He was the coolest. The young teachers, it's so weird how when you're a kid, all the effort, all the things you gain from working a lot and all the wisdom as a teacher, and then you see someone who's like, less than 15 years older than you, and you're like, well, that's the best teacher ever. But also he hadn't, I don't know. I feel like if you teach for 40 years, you might not be as excited. But he did a lot of cool stuff with videos and games and fun stuff. He would do a thing where we would play Jeopardy the day before the test, and if you won at Jeopardy, then you wouldn't have to take the test the next day. I think I definitely talked about that in the podcast. So then he would get kids to study like 2 days. What? How smart is that? But anyway, it came up about allowances, and I remember in 8th grade, people were talking about it, and I was like, well, and I just said, I didn't get money. No, my parents never gave me money as an allowance, but if I ever wanted to do something and I needed money, then that's where I would go, because I didn't, I was 8th grade, I didn't have a job. I kind of said it like in a way like it was a good, like that was a cool partnership, like a cool relationship, rather than allowance. It's just like whenever I'm going to do something, as if I was like, someone my age working for them and being like, hey, you don't have to pay me, just if I need something. And then one of my friends said, yeah, but Michael, you never get to do anything. And then everybody laughed, and they were right. And I felt a little embarrassed, but not as much as I have the most in my life. Because I think that's one good thing about your friends finding out at a young age that your parents don't let you do anything. Because then you don't have to be embarrassed about it anymore. Like, what are you going to do? Make fun of me because I rely on them for food and shelter? That's the biggest advice I'd have. I know there's probably, I'm not trying to attract a teenage crowd. That sounded, but I'm not. But if you are friends with if you have kids that are teenagers and you are strict, I remember my fear before my friends found out that my parents just didn't let me do anything was that like my friends wouldn't think I was cool if my parents didn't let me sleep over at their house. So then I would make up stories about why I was, and my parents would align themselves with these lies. We were raised in a Catholic household, and they're like, just say that we're going out of town. Our town had 14,000 people. Like, they're going to see that I didn't go out of town, It's going to show up when I'm at the soccer game on Saturday or whatever. So, but the lie was supposed to be foolproof. My friends would find out, and then eventually they found out that my parents just said no every time I asked. And then they stopped. They started, instead of making fun of me, they started being like, I think, feeling more sorry or more like empathetic. And that's what I think. If you're a parent of a teenager, and they want to, I think it's different now because I don't know, freedoms have gone away so much. But like if I was telling my teenager that he couldn't do something, and I could tell he was getting very angry because he didn't want to have to go back to his friends and be like, I can't do that thing. I'd just be like, just say that you really want to do it, and your dad, you can call me names, whatever, to your friends, isn't letting me do it, and he's stupid, and you guys have fun, and I'll be able to see you when I'm 25 or whatever it is. Because then it's like a funny thing, because I think that takes it off your shoulder. I shouldn't have had that on my shoulders. You know, if you're a parent and you're not letting your kid do a thing, it's not on your kid to get made fun of because he can't do anything. But I guess kids are going to find something anyways. This podcast is starting off on a note of middle school making fun of. That's the first twist and turn. But anyway, I'm back here, so I'm not living. Well, I would. I don't. Maybe. I think I could live here again because I have a kid. So, like, if something happened and I had to, it would be more reasonable. People, if you have a child, you know, especially with my job and I have to go on the road, like someone's got to watch or whatever, you know, it's more reasonable to be like, oh, I stay with my parents when I'm not on the road. But I'm just staying here for over 10 days. That's all. There's nothing. And there's no reason for me to feel bad about it. It's 2024. People stay at home. It's very nice, you know. It's very nice in a way that, like, sometimes when you're watching like a movie or a TV show, the main character finds himself in a situation that's like too good to be true. And if, like Pinocchio, the kid finds out that everyone's getting turned into donkeys and eaten or put to work or something like slaves. What? But like it doesn't feel like that. Like it could feel like that. You like everything's when you're visiting your parents for more than a couple. It's like feels like, oh, like there's food in the fridge and you have a bunch of people. Like we go to the grocery store, but like there's a bunch of people that when you go from like just being a parent to having family around all of a sudden, it's like, so, I mean, I'm still not getting sleep, but, it's so different, you know, like there's food in someone's going out like, hey, you need this? Yeah, I need to get that. Oh, cool. Do you want money for, you know, like, that would probably, I don't know, it might change if I lived here, but like they're like, we're getting dinner. Do you want order? And then it's just like, it's nice having family. I think it relieves, even when I am, like playing with my son and I feel like someone else like is around that could, but Jack's like, no, I want to do this thing with just you, Dad. I still feel like I have people to see it and feel bad for me, which I don't know. Maybe I feel more energetically positive on this podcast, but that's not a very positive. Back to the broom closet description. So, it's not a broom closet. I would turn it around, but I'm legally obliged to not show the basement to anybody from my parents. No one's allowed down here except me and my parents and my brother, and I think that's it. I don't think there's any other people that are allowed to be down here, which is special. And it's not like, I guess I say that on the internet, like people are like, well, what's down there? It's just stuff, and people get, you know, they don't want people to see that we have stuff. I think if you have a lot of stuff, which if I had stuff, I mean, I thought about getting a storage unit, but there's a service you can do where you can like call this company and they'll take all the stuff away and they'll put it in, it's called a garbage place, Michael. No, they'll put it in they'll pack it all up and they'll put it in different boxes and they'll label it or whatever. And then they'll put it away and then you can just like call them there's probably an app, you know, like, hey, this is kind of, and then you can go through things one at a time. And in the meantime, it's all out of your life. So like, if you're not using it, you don't have to like trip over. You can use the room that it was in a more efficient way. And I've suggested that a few times to my parents. And, you know, you can only suggest so much. There are some people in their lives that are very loving and kind that say, you just got to get rid of it. You just got to go through and get rid of it. But I think that's too many things to do. I think you just got to compartmentalize. Life is all about that. Like I'm doing the podcast, I can't be like, well, let's also figure out my own stuff. Yeah, I can't just be like, I'm going to talk about this past event in my life to see if I can find out what happened and what's wrong with me. That's kind of what I do. The app, there's probably an app. My dad was floored today. It's my dad's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday to my dad. It's today now. Well, it's today where I'm at. It's not today in California. I just got my kid to sleep. I did get him to sleep. He's asleep. It was so fast. Today was such a fast sleep. Like he's up late. He was up late for our time zone. He was up kind of normal for the time zone we were in before. So I don't know how to feel. I don't know how much burden to place on my heart. I don't know how much to beat myself up about him going to bed late in a different time zone. What am I supposed to do? He's only here for almost half a month. Like, we're supposed to change to Central Time? Am I super dad all of a sudden? No. My parents eat dinner later, which is good. That's fine, but it just kind of pushes. You can't really do a bath before dinner. You can, but I guess now he's not like, when they were little, it's like now we're going to do another bath after dinner because they're all messy. So I guess we could have done a bath before dinner, but we did a lot of chalking outside. Yep, just purely for political reasons, getting out the word about the DNC. We're in the Chicago area. No, we drew, I started drawing this plant, and I was like, I'm going to make it into like one of those plants for Mario Brothers. And then it became a whole Mario. I'll post a picture on Instagram in my stories. I don't know if it's post worthy. How can you really tell? How do you know if a picture is like, I want this up there forever? I'm going to have to cut out all these water drinks. I'm not going to, but if I say it, I feel like if you hear it, you'll be like, oh, well, he knows that there's a gap there. So, keep going, Michael. I'm still listening. I'm also doing another thing, though, because that's the best way to listen to this podcast, with not expecting that it's maybe, I'm not saying it's not worth just that's all you're doing is watching. If that's what you're doing, I believe that it is. But sometimes I feel like the content is a little, I don't know, there's no reason. But the chalk, it's like a Mario Brothers thing. I'll put it on the story. How do you know when to put something on a post? A lot of questions today. This is the questions episode. Oh no, now, the air conditioning is really clicking on down here. I cannot turn off the AC in this August, the dog days of summer, for a a house that is full. Who am I to refer to this as full house? This podcast is way too full house reverent. I'm not gonna turn it off, but I think you can still hear it. Testing 1 2. I don't know. I'm not gonna pause it and listen back, but I believe that it's working. But yes. There's an app. There's an app that you can use to get your stuff taken away, and I think my parents should do that. But my parents don't know a lot about apps, and I know that because today is now my dad's birthday in the time zone I'm in. Happy birthday, Dad! And that's one of the reasons we're here. We're not just here because I was working in Peoria last weekend, which a fantastic club in Peoria, the Jukebox Comedy Club. It's one of those comedy clubs that like you would go to and walk in and be like, what am I here for? It's like divey, but that's the best. I feel like that's the best kind of comedy club because when everything's like nice and shiny, it's like, what am I in? Is this like, am I traveling to Mars or something? Like, I don't need to have shiny it doesn't need to be fancy unless it's like a beautiful theater. But even like the older theaters are nice. It's got this very, the ceilings are low. There's no window. Like, that sounds creepy, but perfect for a comedy club. No windows. No one can hear you scream. No, it's there. And it's carpeted, which I think is good for the laughs probably, but it's also like a little gross. Like, I think there's something about being a little uncomfortable that makes people laugh more. And those crowds at the Peoria Jukebox Comedy Club, and people that go might not feel it because you're just there, but the people that go, I feel like, are some of the most receptive comedy club audiences in the world. I feel like if more comedians understood that, they would want to go to that club and work there. There's a couple comedy clubs like that where comedians who are like already doing bigger venues want to go to that club, and I feel like the Jukebox in Peoria is my little best kept secret from other comedians. And I wish other people would work it because I want them to have the best possible. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying all the time I get there. But huge fan of that club. I love the ambiance. You know, I make fun of it a little bit, but there's a dirt racetrack across the street where they roar cars around, like it's like loud cars racing around, and that doesn't add to the show. Like I would say, I would prefer to not be during that, and this is the first time I noticed it. But it's kind of cool when you come out to see it, and if you stand in the right place, like the dirt will hit you on the face, and it's just one of those places where you're like, no one thought, oh, this is a killer spot. Like no one's planning for this to be an awesome location. It's just like, this is where it is and this is where it happens, and people are going to come to it or they're not. And I think there's something beautiful about a business like that. I realize I'm not talking it up in a super amazing way, but I'm a big fan of the Jukebox in Peoria. And I was just there, and that's not why I'm staying with my parents. Not because I'm there, and then this week I'm in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and then the next weekend I'm in Chattanooga and Mount Vernon, Illinois. That's not why I'm staying with my parents for 10 to 12 days, to 13 to 14. But my dad's birthday is today now, in this time zone today. And we're going out to eat dinner tomorrow, and my dad during dinner today, eating in, warmed up food, which is good. I had no problem with that. Yeah, I don't always need a home cook, but my parents, it was good food yesterday, and it was good food today. And it sounds like I'm making a statement. It sounds like I'm saying like, oh, I didn't get fresh food every day at my parents' house. What's the point of coming home if I can't get a fresh? That's not what I'm saying at all. You might think it. I'm not saying it. I'm happy. Listen, they have a basement, and they let me do a podcast here. So no, there's so much more. It's the people. Like, I realize as I talk about my parents and all that I'm appreciative of, it could sound like it's just like, well, you know, they let me stay there when I started out doing stand-up, and I can go back and work the road from here. And, you know, they're grandparents, so they're excited to play with my son. But there's also, like, you know, there's love there, right? There's a connection. It's home. Even if they did none of that. Well, that would kind of be rude, but even if it didn't work out to do all of it, it still would be a place to come to. Because sometimes they can't, you know? But anyway, my dad wanted to make a reservation for dinner tomorrow, which has got to be weird. I've noticed it too as a dad. Like when I'm celebrating my birthday and away from family, and it's just me and, you know, my son, it's like, oh, what am I going to spend money on for us to do now? It's got to be weird for my parents when we celebrate that. I guess I should take them out to eat. I should say that. I always offer, but man, there's no reason to. Anyway, he was trying to make a reservation for a restaurant that he wanted to go to for his birthday. I know that families sometimes all pitch in for dinner. In my family, and it's just different, but if we go out to eat, I had to talk about it. I couldn't sit here and not talk about the thing that I brought up. I can't. I'm not going to. I will take a break from it while I take another drink. So, when my family, like where were we all together? My parents, I don't know, we've gone on vacation with family and stuff, and it seems like no one's ever like gets a check and then like let's split it up. It's like different people get dinner for different events, and I think it's simpler for the server maybe, but I think if you guys split up everything too, that's fine too. Whatever you do, wherever you're at, the most important people is the people you're with. So that's why I feel like, yeah, no, my dad was making a reservation on the app. He was like, he looked up the restaurant, and he's like, oh, they closed at 8, so that's what we can't make a reservation until tomorrow. When they open at 4 for a reservation at 5:30 p.m. And I felt the anxiety raise a little bit, because like, what if we've told these people, all these people, there's so many people, not a lot of people, but a few people who are coming to dinner with us for my dad's birthday, we're doing it at this time, 5:30 p.m. Now, all you know, too, come on by. I don't know. It would be fun. It'd be fine. There's probably room. But 5:30, we're going to have to, and then he goes to make a reservation. He's like, oh, they're closed. I can't call and make a reservation. And I felt like the whole room got a little bit less lighthearted. You know, we would have been fine, you know, but there was definitely a thing. you ever have like a little thing that's not a big deal, and but the fact that you forgot it, like I traveled to see my parents for 6 to 20 days, this week and last week and next, and and I didn't bring contact lenses with me other than the ones that I was like just the pair, and my contacts don't last that long. My right one, this is so much important information. My right one, I would love if I was going through TSA and I was like, I forgot my ID, and they're like, hold on, and then they got on the phone and was like, how long is your right contact good for right now? 6 more days. All right, enjoy your vacation. Like, they knew my contact lens schedule. My right one is good for 4 weeks. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I'm doing a thing with my hand right now on the camera, so if you're listening, it's not as enjoyable. But I learned this at an assembly. An assembly? I don't know if that's what we called it, but in middle school, this like mime group came. Oh boy. A group of mimes. They didn't even talk about drugs at all. They were just there, which is nice. I would say that as a student. If you're a teacher and you're booking assemblies and you want the kids to really listen to the don't do drugs message, don't book a don't do drugs person every time. Because then they go in there, they're already like, don't do drugs. Oh, yeah, don't do other bad stuff. Like, I get it. Okay, show me the video of the kids sitting on the train listening to Runaway Train. Even though we live in rural Indiana, like if you're going to be on a train in rural Indiana, you like hopped like a real, like what kid knows enough about the world to get on a train full of corn a real train. So anyways, I appreciated the fact that there was a talk, people giving a talk that wasn't about, or a presentation that wasn't about drugs, or AIDS was a big thing at the time, and sex in middle school for sure, and how to not get AIDS and what AIDS was, and it was a big AIDS time, and it's really interesting because there are some kids, I think, that they're for sure probably kids that age that need to know that information, but like some of us are just like, I get Nintendo Power in the mail, like, what are you talking about? You think that this could be an issue for me? Like, I have action figures, and that are sport players, so it's cool. But like, and I had action figures. But like I wake up and watch Scooby Doo. I didn't really watch, but my friend did. I was more of a Saved by the Bell. But anyways, it was nice to have I don't know if they didn't call it an assembly. It was something else that wasn't just like don't do drugs. And it was like a mime group, and maybe one of the messages was like don't do drugs, but like most of it was just like doing cool mime stuff. And one of the things they did, they all lined up and they had their hands out and they moved their fingers like that, and it was like they looked at a ball going this way and they looked at the ball going this way, and I learned how to do that after that, because I think there was something that I really liked about seeing something that people did for a show, and I was like, I can learn that now, and I was just like, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. I don't think I can't do it with it. Let me hold on. This is just for the video. I sincerely apologize to everyone who downloaded the audio with the meaning of, it's at 27, you can see the time code, 28 minutes, without ever considering watching the video. I can't afford to lose anybody. Anyway, it was nice to have a group that wasn't there about drugs and about mimes instead, and they could do this. And I don't know what I was talking about, but it is nice to get out of class regardless. So while I am sort of hating on the AIDS, not the AIDS, it's the Don't Get AIDS assembly, which it was, I don't know, or the drugs, don't do drugs, because AIDS was so prolific in my decade. I feel like we got out of school more to learn about it, because teachers are like, well, I know that we could keep them in school for this class period right here, but if we take them out, they might not get AIDS. So shout out to all the people who are, have survived the illness. I can't dig this hole deep enough when it comes to mentioning a disease that has affected many lives and loved ones There's no way I can come back from the amount of times I said it in a way. But in my defense, which pretty much this is all, I'm not one of those podcasters like, here's what I'm doing wrong, and I got nothing to say for it. No, in my defense, it was thrown in our face a lot. There was an AIDS board game, I'm pretty sure, about how not to get all the different ways to get in health class. We took it. Maybe it wasn't just AIDS. Maybe it was like all STDs. It's probably good to learn that stuff before you're at an age where you're even anybody would ever even consider being intimate with you. But it is also kind of weird because it's like I gotta remember this for later, I guess, because it's not important. I mean, it's good. It's like kind of like learning about someone else's life, I guess. Like, oh, that could be a problem. I could see how that could be a problem. The videos were weird too. Like the videos in 8th grade for health class were like, they make a point of being like, one of the videos was very much like they filmed it in a black box theater, and it didn't look like anything that would seem like a situation that would make you get AIDS. But it was like, this is how it could happen, and it was like an act out, and it was bad. And they said the teacher was like, they did this on purpose to not like make you feel like you were watching people have sex. And but then there was one that was like, oh, it was kind of like a rated R movie, not like no nudity or anything. That was just Romeo and Juliet. Freshman year. The old one. Like, our teacher sprinted from the back of the classroom because she forgot about that part, which, like, as a freshman in high school, like, I'm very aware at that age if there's nudity on the screen. And if I knew there was, I'd be very aware of the time. So just the fact that, like, a lady forgot and then sprinted up to the, I feel like it was very, all of the aspects of that situation were fun to be a part of. Anyways, there's one AIDS video where it was like, it was a real story about this girl. I don't think it was real, but it was like how this girl could get it, and like she hooked up with a guy, and they kind of showed that, and then like all that she had to deal with because she got it, and it was just sort of like a sad health class. Was sad that week. There wasn't it wasn't about being happy that week. Never ended super great. Anyways, so I appreciate those. But back to the birthday dinner. My dad wanted to make a reservation, and I could tell that he wasn't able to, and the mood had been lowered very slightly, not greatly, just slightly. And then I felt my moment, you know? Sometimes when you're visiting family and they're putting you up, which as a comic happens more than probably most people have. Like, I don't think there's like engineers being like, hey, I'm coming through Tampa. How about I hang out? Like, maybe there is. But I definitely have times where there's family who are really nice, and they it's like an Airbnb, but you get to see them too. And hang out with people. I always feel like there's a moment where sometimes I can help out with something. I really want to do it. And I felt like that was coming. You know, I felt like I think I can do this. And so I was like, what's the name of the restaurant? And I typed it into Google Maps, and I saw the website, or I saw the reserve a table link, and I was like, I don't even know if this works. I've never reserved a table off of Google Maps. I've never been that trustworthy of an app that sometimes can't get the hours correct for when they're serving food at a restaurant. When I tap in restaurant and then click open now, and you send me all these bars that are just having their last call at 1:30, that doesn't mean they're serving steak and fries at that time. Doesn't mean they're whatever. I don't know why I've said fries. Like, I'll get baked potatoes or I try to eat vegetables on the road. But like, that doesn't mean they're so then I gotta like call, and then it rings because they don't want to answer. And then I start to feel in my brain like, no one wants to work. And that's not fair, because it's like their job as they're working for a company, and like, you don't know what they've been through. But like, when you're hungry and it's late at night, and they turn off the light at the drive-through, and you could tell it's not midnight yet. Like, you know, you can see, but they've already turned it off, and they're just like hiding in there, like they're, I don't know. And it's just like, all I want is a burger or whatever. And but also I don't want to make you work, you know. Anyways, I try not to come near right when they're closing. But sometimes it can be hard. And then you find out that they're not serving food, and it just says on Google Maps that they're open because you can drink there. Or like maybe the menu is limited, and it's just like, oh, all of that food, that I think it'd be healthier to just not eat right now, or to just go to McDonald's. Not that McDonald's I love. Anyway, I think I've finished less words in this podcast than I've than any other podcast. I think this is going to be the record for the least amount of words finished. Or what it'd be easier to be like, I didn't finish the most words. That's probably the easiest. It's the same count now that I think about it. But I've never trusted the make a reserve, maybe like once, but I don't remember. For the sake of this emotional output, I've never trusted the reserve a table on the Google Maps app because I'm just like, this is not even the website of the rest. Because you ever click on the menu link on the Google? Sometimes I'm looking here, sometimes I'm looking here. You ever click on the menu link on the Google Maps thing? You click on the menu and you're like, oh, this will take me to the web page of the restaurant where there's a menu, and it'll look like a restaurant's menu, and it'll raise my confidence, raise my belief in the food that I'm about to order, because it's going to be professionally presented to me via this website that my Google Maps has gotten me to. And then you click on menu in Google Maps, and it's just like random pictures of the food and like money, how much it costs is next to it. But there's a lot of white space, and it's just like a separate menu that Google put together through pictures. And I can't even describe it accurately, because whenever I see it, I'm just like, no, this can't be official. I can't call a restaurant and ask for a thing on a thing that doesn't look like it's from their thing. It's kind of like Google's just like a friend, and you're like, oh, well, do they have burgers? And then they go like, yeah, they got that. They got that. Oh, well, what does it look like? Here's a picture that this lady took 3 minutes ago. So, do you want that? Oh, well, it's just like, just give me the link to the menu. How hard? I mean, I'm telling Google, how hard is it when they've changed my life, by the way? When you were able to search for things in Gmail, let me tell you something. Kids out there, this is a very teenage habit. No, like if you have an email account, there's a time where people didn't. And then there was a time when people had Hotmail. And Hotmail was Hotmail. It was Hotmail. My friend Shannon signed me up for Hotmail at the Wabash Carnegie Public Library when I was probably like a junior in high school, maybe a sophomore. I don't remember, but she signed me up. And she didn't put my name as my name. She put M_ and then my last name. I don't think that's giving away too much information. I don't even think TSA knows that, though. But I was just like, if I was doing it, I'd put Michael Palisak, right? That's what I would do. But anyway, she did M. I don't check it anymore. But M_ Palisak, which was like weird. But I appreciated her. I'm sure she's keeping track, with her busy life and children. I'm sure all of my old high school friends are following this intently, with intent. Yes, intensely. So that was the time. It was a Hotmail. And then I found out that Gmail, Google Mail, also known as Gmail, you could search for a word that was in the email and it'd pull up all the emails in your email account that had those words in it. And it'd make it easier to find an email about a thing that you didn't know. And then you don't have to organize anything ever again. It just lives in your email. You don't have to read all your emails. You just let it all go. And then whenever you need information, you just type. You not drunkenly, but you can be like very unaware and just be like, menu, food, and then be like, but sometimes I got in the habit of writing an email and putting the words in it that I thought I would read, and then I could be like, I can find this, joke or whatever faster. But that's what it was. Gmail changed. You could search, and then everybody added it after that. So I guess that's just to say that Google's still, I'd say, a very, how do you like a company that is worth hanging around, stay with us. But in this situation, just put the menu link. So I've never trusted that little part of the app as being legit, where you can reserve a table or find it on the Google Maps app. But I did it because I was like, we're not going to get this reservation tonight through the phone. I could go to the restaurant's website, but I don't think we're going to need a reservation that at the 5:30 time period. so let me try this. So I clicked on the make reservation, and a bunch of times came up that weren't the time I wanted. And then I typed in the time I wanted, and that time came up, and the amount of people came in. I typed it in, and I went to my phone. I forwarded it to my dad, and he was just like, "How did you do that?" It was for someone who, done so much for me, like hooked up the VCR when we got one, the Nintendo. Like did a lot of technical stuff for me as a kid when I didn't know how to be able to give back. Like when the car would break down and he'd go in and like fix it, for me to be like, yeah, I can help out too. It felt nice. Yeah. So that's what's going on there. But yeah, Peoria was a great, really, if you came to the show, then you know that there was the crowds. It's a summer crowd, which means they're a little not lighter, not as many people. But the people that came made it feel like like I wanted to do the show. I was about to put my arm up here, but it's not gonna. This is my first time in this location so now it's like sliding. But I did fly with my son to my parents and left them there with my parents, and then came back the second night. And so I'm not usually I get a lot of sleep when I'm on the road, but I'm not having it. And you can decide, how do my eyes look, right? I feel like there's no end to that. I feel like right now, I'm very happy that I am here talking to all of you. I love when Jack gets to see his grandparents, parents too. I'm happy when Jack gets to see his parents. Jack is my son. But it also is like now I'm working extra, like, cause I feel like when you're at home with your kid, oh, they're going to bed now, they're waking up now. The biggest thing is they're going to like a school or a camp thing maybe, or it's like, or that they're not, but like here it's like, well, we might not have dinner till 8. Like it's like a vacation, and it just keeps pushing things back. And it's a house, which sounds crazy, but I live in an apartment, so if you forget something in another room, it's right there. But if we're all the way up in the place where Jack is sleeping, and then we're like, oh, you left your stuffed animal downstairs, that's adding 30 seconds to a minute on everyone's go to sleep time. So it's just rough, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because of all that extra time. I really don't believe that. I do remember in my apartment, I have a play area for Jack, and it's in like the living room part of the apartment. And I have like mats from when he was a baby, and that's how I delineated the part where I was like, oh, if he falls. So if you have a baby and they're not always good at keeping their balance, you try to put a lot of padded things around them, so if they like fall and smash their head, it's like a fun thing. That's the main part about being a parent of one of the main parts about being a parent of a baby is like, if they fall, how do I make it fun and not painful? And so I got all these little puzzle pieces on the floor, and which you don't ever want to hurt your kid. That's a weird way to start. There's a lot of clips you could just clip out from this and make sure I never get to run for president. Not that I was, but the convention's gone. You're thinking, but Jack, my son, has been to a trampoline park in our neighborhood. It's like an indoor place where there's a lot and they play dodgeball and trampolines. So Jack's all about dodgeball, but the balls there are perfect for dodgeball for all ages, because you can whip it at someone and it doesn't hurt, doesn't leave marks or anything. But today he wanted to play dodgeball with my dad and me, and I was throwing it very like just tossing it and trying to just let him dodge it as a fun thing, and it hit him like right in the cheek, and he was fine. And I felt like this like pride of like, he'll be okay, He didn't cry, and the mark was, that's what's weird when your kids cry so much over things, you're like, he's totally fine. And then like they actually get hit in the face with a ball, and they're just like, yeah, all right, so you're out because you hit me in the face. It's like, okay, how focused are you on winning? They're like, yeah, I'm going to brush that off. Let's get to it. You're losing right now, right? My son wants to win everything. I think that's the only annoying thing about him right now. Is that if you met my kid, and you weren't a kid, because I don't think he's this way around other kids. This is just how he relates to adults. It's like almost every moment of every day, every different thing that enters his life, it feels like he says, did you have this when you were a kid? Did you have this? Do you think it's better that I have this? So you're saying my life was better than your better? You're like, and it's like, it's something that started, and I don't know how it started. I know Christmas this year, he got a stuffed animal. And my Aunt B was making a joke with him like, oh, I wanted that. And I don't think she started it. I'm not saying that was bad. I think it was funny. But she was like, I wanted that Luigi stuffed animal. That's what I wanted. And he was like, yeah, I want. And that was like this, like how they interacted. And now everything in his life that has to do when he's around an adult is just like, did you want this? Did you want this? Well, no, I have it. Do you feel bad that you didn't have this as a kid? It's like real, like if you just typed out the words of what he's saying, it's like, well, this is a bully. But he's like, so much smaller and younger. But it is a challenge because we'll play a game and I'll let him win sometimes because I think that's good, to do, and he'll be like, oh, I beat you. Did you think that I beat you the best ever? Was that a record time that I beat you in this game? And it's just like, oh, it's the only annoying thing. And I've talked to him about it because one time I was like, are you trying to be mean or are you trying to be funny? And he's like, what? And I was like, oh, you're just saying stuff that's true. And he's like, yeah. He's not trying to be mean or funny. He's just like, my life's awesome now because I have this thing in it and your life isn't. And my life is better because yours isn't too. And so maybe that is mean. He just doesn't know what mean is, which, whoops, that's my job as a dad. I should have taught him what mean was. I think he knows what mean is, but like mean, like passive aggressive mean, because I don't think kids are ever passive aggressive, but I don't think he knows if it sounds passive. There's no reason to go into the rest of that. Yeah, we played dodgeball. He took one to the face. He's fine. I didn't throw hard. He's good. I'm glad I did it though, because like I feel like we have a relationship that he would still be okay around me if he got hit in a way that he didn't expect. But like when a grandparent or something like that throws a ball and you're playing a game where you throw the ball at somebody and they get hit and then they start crying, it's just like, oh, now you get to see him for 6 days a year or 20 depending on how this trip goes. And now he's crying for some of it. He does cry a lot, and I do like that about being around family. This is the part of the podcast where I'm just if you're listening, you're gonna be like, well, I'm done listening then. But I do feel like I'm pretty good for like 30 to 40 minutes, and then I'm like, well, we're almost at the time where I usually stop, so I'll just keep talking, maybe to the detriment, but maybe to the success of this show. I think there's some people that probably listen to the whole thing. Is that what you want to hear? But no, it is nice. This does feel like there's no point to this sentence, but I'm going to say it anyways because I feel like it is. It is nice to be around other adults who treat him with respect and love him, but also don't take as much because they don't feel like they have to, or they don't feel like they want to. Like I feel like some of the stuff I take from my kid is like me being like, well, this is a way to let him get out of this phase is by not calling super amount of attention to him screaming all the time when he wants to talk to you and you're talking to somebody else. It's not screaming. I never even heard it as scream. Here's what it is. So he would get really loud when everyone was talking. He wanted to talk to somebody because I think he just wants, he wants to talk. He's super excited to be around these people. And they'd be like, whoa, you're being too loud. And I'm just like, you should be lucky that kid wants to talk to you. You know what I mean? Because he's the best kid ever. But like, they're like, oh, easy. No, he wants to talk. You are lucky to talk. I think I just love him too much. Like when my son wants to talk to me, I'm like, oh, you let me hear these words and these thoughts. And I bet that's why some people in my family might think I'm crazy, because I'm just like, no. It's okay. He's yelling. I want to know. Listen, I haven't been excited like that in like months. I want to know what's going on in his day that's making him so excited that he's like, I don't even have anything to say, but I need to talk to everybody right now. That's what I want to tap into that energy, that knowledge of whatever it is. And so, but also maybe he does get louder around people who aren't me because he gets so excited to be around them. I also do tell him, like, to be quiet inside. No one asked. That's why I feel like when I'm talking about story, like, no one asked about that, Michael. Here's something I wrote down earlier. I need to nap more. That's what or just sleep more, because when I do get a good amount of sleep, I don't think my son is stealing my stuff. That happens. I lost a watch because Jack for a little while as a joke would just hide stuff. And, but like he would forget that he hid the thing. Hid the thing. Yeah, let's just make fun of another word you messed up. No, he'd forget that he hid it. And then it's like, now you just lost this thing. And, it happened like one time, maybe I found a thing and he's like, oh yeah, I put that there like last year. And I forgot about it. But then like there was one day where I hadn't gotten a lot of sleep and I was like, did you hide my watch? Cause I think when I lose something, my first instinct to be is like, who lost this? There's no way I lost this thing. And there was another thing like that. I'm like, what? Did you put this somewhere? And he's a kid, so I think part of him's like part of his brain is just like, I don't remember stuff from 2 months ago. Like I'm new to all of this, so maybe I did steal this stuff. So, but he doesn't say that. He's just like he just kind of says something vague like, I know that. Like something like that. And then you're like, oh, he might have stolen. But when I get sleep, I never think he's stealing my stuff. I think I'm just fine. All right. We've done enough. This is it. This is enough for today. You guys, you people, everybody, this has been episode 24. Almost has been. It's not done yet. I shouldn't speak like it's already done. I took time to do this podcast because I was thinking like, well, if I don't do it, there could be people that are listening that need to have it today after I get my kid to sleep. And I need those people to feel, I want to be there for them. So we're going to do it. We did it. I'm going to Kenosha, Wisconsin this weekend, Chattanooga, Tennessee, hopefully next week. I think that's definite. Mount Vernon, Illinois, which is an hour and a half from St. Louis, the Saturday before Labor Day. And then Long Island, New York, the weekend after that. And, a little bit of that will be an extended break here, but then we'll get back to our normal lives. And, yeah. Thank you for listening to episode 24. And this is I don't know what I'm going to stop first, the audio or the video. What is it? Oh, it's all.